Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, and it's horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
Well, AfriForum has built up a massive list and database of friends and allies all across the world, particularly in the United States. And as soon as the Expropriation Act was signed by the president, we all informed them about the facts here in South Africa. So I do hope that we had a massive effect there. I mean, you can't really see everything that happens behind the scenes, but I do think AfriForum had a massive impact.
Okay, so this money, $440 million US in funding for PEPFAR for South Africans living with HIV. Is this the consequence you wanted?
I don't think that's particularly what Trump is talking about here. He's cutting off aid to many countries. He's pretty much disabled U.S. aid in total. I think what he's talking about here is increasing punishment on South Africa, particularly regarding the Expropriation Act. And I mean, this has always been AfriForum's stance, that punish the politicians that push through these destructive policies, not the citizens of the country. That's always been AfriForum's stance. You can go check out all of our press statements on it. And I think what Trump is talking about here is future action rather than action that's already been taken.
But that's not what he said, Ernst. He says he wants to have an investigation. That's fine. He said he's cutting it immediately. He said things are happening to people in South Africa, a certain class of people. I presume he's dog whistling there, in fact, to his supporters. You're playing a very dangerous game here, and isn't the consequence that we've lost $440 million for people living with HIV?
Stephen, you are playing a very dishonest game here by saying that that's the direct result of what AfriForum is doing. Our direct result is getting under the president's attention the Expropriation Act. He was going to cut off aid to dozens of countries all across the world anyway. What he's talking about here is additional measures to combat particularly expropriation without compensation. The dangerous game is not AfriForum. The dangerous game is the South African government passing laws that directly attack private property rights in this country. And also the dangerous game is the South African government having 141 race laws on the books. Just 20 minutes ago, Elon Musk made a tweet responding to President Ramaphosa, asking him in his words, why does South Africa have openly racist laws? And Elon Musk is 100% on the money. That's the dangerous game. That's what needs to stop. And I'm very glad that the world is taking notice, finally.
Okay, but you said at the very beginning, that's why I asked the question, in case you did not think that this was the result of your work, that this is the result of your work. It would surely be foreseeable that this is what Trump would do. Yes, of course he is cutting aid to other countries. There was a waiver signed by Mark Rubio in terms of HIV treatment. That's a completely
separate policy. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're trying to conflate those two to create this moral panic around what's happening, to say that, look how evil you are. That's not true. What's happening is the South African government is threatening private property rights, and the US president is saying he won't stand for it. There's going to be additional measures, from what I can see, in regards to what Trump is announcing here.
Okay, there are various things going on here, right? One of them is that you have been to Washington, your organization. You're very proud of your influence in Washington, from what I can see. The second thing is that you have a US president now who talks about a class of people who are being treated very badly. Who do you believe he's talking about?
He's talking about the people in South Africa that are constantly attacked by the politicians for the color of their skin, the minorities that are constantly scapegoated for all the failures of the ANC. He's talking about the minorities that are targeted by the race laws on the books in this country. He's talking about those minorities targeted, for example, by policies or that you saw, for example, in Dis-Chem, where that internal memo leaked a few years ago, where the promotion and hiring of white people was completely barred by under threat from government fines. To try and ignore these realities is to push your head into the sand like an ostrich. They are there. There are people, especially minorities, being targeted in this country by legislation, and the government is open about it in their rhetoric.